Today on NBA 2K24, we will be rewriting the course of history. What if LeBron James never signed with the Miami Heat in the 2010 offseason? What we're going to be doing today is we'll be putting LeBron James back on the Cleveland Cavaliers as if he had signed there to begin with, into the LeBron era, which starts in the 2010-2011 season, and we are going to simulate to the modern day to see what happens and how the course of NBA history changes. So for now, the only two teams that see a big change are the Heat and the Cavaliers. Miami still has Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Would those two have signed with Miami without LeBron in real life? Who knows, but for the sake of today's video, the answer is yes. LeBron James returns to a not-so-great Cleveland Cavaliers team who he is probably going to have to single-handedly will into the playoffs. The rest of the league's landscape is unchanged for now, but it will quickly as we simulate to our first All-Star break. The Bulls at 48-9 seem like the team to beat. Miami and Cleveland both having pretty strong seasons, although the Cavs have only been meh. Oklahoma City, the Lakers, and the Nuggets lead the way. Denver here in particular is interesting because this is the year that Carmelo Anthony got traded away in real life. No real surprises on the All-Star teams. Maybe Manu Ginobili, but he did make multiple All-Stars in his career, so it makes sense. Dwayne Wade and Derrick Rose are currently battling it out for the MVP. D. Rose, of course, was the youngest MVP ever. He won his first one this year in real life, and fittingly, he wins one here. History repeats itself to start today's video. Other than that, none of the awards are really all that surprising. Pretty much what you would expect. Again, the landscape of the league hasn't changed all that much, minus Cleveland and the Heat. But once we get into this first offseason, we will likely see some surprising changes. John Wall making the all-defensive second team as a rookie is kind of interesting. So both the Heat and the Cavs end up making the playoffs. Miami drops to 4, while Cleveland drops to 6. The Bulls at 67 wins feel like the clear favorite in the East, while the Nuggets end up getting the number 1 seed in the West. So we'll simulate round by round, see if anything interesting happens. It's all chalk in the first round. The top 4 seeds each win. LeBron and the Cavs are out. As we go to the conference finals, we have more surprise here. The number 1 seed Denver Nuggets lose to the Lakers in 5. LA will go up against OKC, while Derrick Rose and the Bulls go against the Magic. And we've got an interesting finals with Derrick Rose, the youngest MVP in NBA history, facing off against Kobe Bryant and the Lakers. In real life, Dirk won the finals this year, so no ring for Dirk. Instead, it'll be one of these teams, and we've got a really competitive series that's ultimately going to go 7 games. Will Kobe get ring number 6, or will Derrick Rose, at 22 years old, lead a team to a championship? And we've got a great game. We're going to hop in. We're not going to control either team. We're just going to sit back and watch. Game 7 of the finals at the United Center. Lakers and Bulls. Kobe for the lead. It's good. And the Lakers are ahead by 2. Kobe only won 5 titles in real life, but here he has a chance to tie Michael Jordan in rings. Rose misses the floater. Derek Fisher with the defense on the other end. It's Lamar Odom, who's on crack. And the Lakers lead by 4. Chicago's got to get something going quickly. Screen from Boozer. Rose over to Carlos Boozer, who makes the shot, and we are within 2. The Lakers have it back. Huge possession for them. Going to the Mamba, who misses the shot. Carlos Boozer with the stop, and the Bulls get it back. Derrick Rose for the tie. No good, he misses it. So both star players with key misses down the stretch, and it goes back to the Lakers with a minute on the clock. Kobe again with it once more. He misses again. Big opportunity now for the Bulls as it goes in the hands of Taj Gibson for the tie. It's good. Who would have thunk it? Taj Gibson with a game-tying shot in Game 7 with 40 seconds left. Back into the hands of the Mamba. Kobe Bryant for the lead. The Lakers back on top by 2. So now it'll go to the Bulls. They'll get another shot as Derrick Rose gets charged with a charging foul. What a play by Lamar Odom. The lead is up to 4 after a couple Laker 3 throws. Derrick Rose back with it. Drives inside, and it is no good. Derek Fisher with the biggest defensive stop of the game, and it looks like the Los Angeles Lakers get it done In the first season of today's experiment, Kobe Bryant wins his 6th NBA title. So already within the first season of today's video, we have had a league-changing event as Kobe ties Michael Jordan all-time for championships. Could Kobe pass MJ? That's certainly possible. Kobe's still got a few years left in the league. That'll bring us into the 2011 offseason. Shaquille O'Neal headlining the list of retirements. Obviously, he is a Hall of Famer. That'll bring us to the offseason now in the NBA draft lottery as we look at the 2011 draft. One of the all-time great classes with guys like Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Jimmy Butler, and ultimately the Milwaukee Bucks get the number 1 pick. The Wizards and Jazz up next. So Milwaukee is the first pick. We'll see which star they choose to select. And ultimately, they go for Kawhi Leonard. Can't blame them. The Wizards get Rod Hickman from Lithuania. I think this is the year the Wizards drafted Jan Vesely, so at least they're keeping it realistic. As for the rest of the top stars, Klay Thompson and Kyrie Irving are both off the board. Klay goes to Utah. Kyrie goes to the Timberwolves. And then Jimmy Butler ends up with the Charlotte Bobcats. Kemba Walker, meanwhile, goes to the Sacramento Kings. So an interesting start. We have some names of guys who don't exist here, but we'll roll with it. That'll bring us to the 2011 free agency, headlined by Carmelo Anthony. Got a few other solid players in here, but Melo's really the name to watch. Obviously, he went with the Knicks in real life, but here he signs with the Houston Rockets. Zebo to the Pacers. That's the other real interesting move. Indy's got themselves a squad with a young Paul George and a healthy Danny Granger. Let's simulate to the All-Star break, see if anything interesting happens. Miami doesn't look all that good. Neither does Cleveland. The Bulls again atop the East as they look to make it back to the finals. And then in the West, the Thunder at 45-9 with their future potential super team brewing with KD, Russ, and James Harden. This is the first time the Thunder made the finals, losing it to LeBron. This is the year that Miami with LeBron won their first championship, but it looks like neither Miami nor LeBron is going to get there unless they figure this out. Derrick Rose wins his 2nd MVP, so already he adds another MVP to the mantle as we take a look at the All-NBA teams. Again, nothing overly surprising. I guess Josh Smith making the 3rd team is something, but he was a dog before he robbed the Pistons. Steph Curry making it is interesting as well. It appears that Curry has gotten really good sooner than he did in real life. So here's a look at the standings. The Bulls win 64 games. Big second half of the year for Indiana and Orlando. Could either of those teams challenge Chicago in the East? OKC wins the West comfortably. Minnesota, though, with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, they've got themselves a squad. And then the Golden State Warriors, even without Klay Thompson, appear to be really good. A Steph Curry, Monte Ellis backcourt has actually worked. So as we simulate, we do have some interesting results. Washington and John Wall beat Atlanta, and then both the 2 and the 3 seed lose. Golden State and Minnesota fall to the Nuggets and the Hornets are going to keep on going with Chris Paul, who's still there, but their reign of terror ends as we have OKC and Chicago. Clearly the 2 best teams in the league. The Thunder with Russ, Harden, and KD. This team never won a title together. Could that change? Or does Derrick Rose win a championship? The Bulls took it to 7 last year. It's off to another tight start. And the Chicago Bulls win in 6. What a start for Derrick Rose. He's won 2 MVPs and a championship at just 23 years old. Jason Kidd and Grant Hill headlined the list of retirements in 2012, with Kidd making the Hall of Fame. The New Jersey Nets relocate to Brooklyn, as that'll bring us to the 2012 lottery. This class features guys like Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard, and Bradley Beal, as the Toronto Raptors will pick number 1, followed by the Mavericks and then the Suns. Got to assume Anthony Davis is the selection here to the Toronto Raptors. He was the clear number 1 pick at the time, and I think him and DeMar DeRozan could be a really fun duo. Keep in mind the Raptors don't have Kyle Lowry. He is still with the Rockets. But ultimately, the Raptors do go with Anthony Davis, number 1 overall. Damian Lillard teams up with Dirk in Dallas. Harrison Barnes to the Suns. The Rockets get Andre Drummond, and then Minnesota now is a big 3 of Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, and Bradley Beal. Wow, what a squad. Draymond Green ends up with the Lakers. I'm sure that is his ultimate fantasy. Chris Middleton ends up with the Boston Celtics. Terrence Ross to the Hornets, and that'll bring us to free agency. Derrick Rose is here. He is restricted. Chris Paul and Dwight Howard are the 2 big names to watch. Also got some older stars like KG and Tim Duncan. So ultimately, we had some movement. Dwight Howard is joining the Mavericks, teaming up with Dirk and Damian Lillard. Chris Paul returns to the Hornets. Deron Williams signs with the Kings, and Rodney Stuckey goes to the Bucks. So now we are in the 2012-2013 season, the third season of the episode. Will Derrick Rose three-peat on MVPs, or will we have a new winner as we simulate up to the All-Star break? Currently, it's the Atlanta Hawks ahead of the Bulls in first place. And look at the Raptors with Anthony Davis. They were the worst team in the league last year. Now they're in third place. The Thunder, 54-3. Is that good? I think that's pretty good. Is anyone going to beat that team? Probably not. And when it's all said and done, here's a look at the All-Stars. We got 3 players from Boston. Brandon Jennings is an All-Star. That's interesting. As we make it to the end of the year, Russell Westbrook wins his first MVP 4 years earlier than he did in real life. Good for him. Anthony Davis with a great rookie year. And then the thing that stands out here, the Thunder went 78-4. Yes, your eyes are not deceiving you. They won 78 games. That is unbelievable. Good luck to the rest of the league. We've got a dynasty on tap. 78-4, 40-1 at home. So it appears that this team is going to be really good for a long time if they actually stick together, unlike real life. As for the East, the Bulls do end up getting the number 1 seed over Atlanta. I'm not sure it's going to matter, though. The Cavs don't even make the playoffs with LeBron. The Thunder struggle in the first round. They lose 2 games, but they hang on. Other than that, nothing too notable. I guess Minnesota winning a playoff series is something. Minnesota wins another one over Portland. They will go up against the Thunder, while the defending back-to-back Eastern Conference champion Bulls are out. They lose to Miami, who's going to go up against Indiana. And we've got a Thunder and Pacers matchup in the finals. OKC is really good. The Pacers are the fun team with Paul George, Zebo, Danny Granger. This team does not stand a chance, though. And give Indiana credit. They took a game, but nothing more. The Thunder win the championship, only losing 3 games in the playoffs after losing just 4 in the regular season. KD, Russ, and Harden all win together, which obviously did not happen in real life. Steve Nash, Ray Allen, and Vince Carter all in the Hall of Fame. The New Orleans Hornets are now the New Orleans Pelicans, and that'll bring us to the 2013 lottery. Obviously, this draft was a little bit weaker at the top, but Giannis Antetokounmpo is here as the 76ers get the number 1 pick, followed by the Bobcats and the Lakers. A lot of the teams who were bad at this point in time are still bad, clearly. So we'll see where Giannis goes as the Sixers select Dwayne Elliott. I don't think that's a real person. Did the 76ers scout outside of the city of Philadelphia? There's no other reason for that pick. Giannis is a Hornet. He's going to pair up with Jimmy Butler. That's pretty fun. And then the Lakers trade the 3rd pick for Tim Duncan. Okay. So Tim Duncan is a Laker. That is gross. He teams up with Kobe, while the Spurs get Victor Oladipo, and Dennis Schroeder gets drafted by the Detroit Pistons. I cannot imagine Tim Duncan in a Laker jersey. That is foul. The Spurs, meanwhile, start their rebuild with Victor Oladipo and Otto Porter. So that'll bring us to the 2013 free agency. Mostly restricted guys in here. I mean, Josh Smith is cool. Eric Gordon is cool. But there aren't many unrestricted free agents in this class, so there's not going to be a whole ton of movement. Josh Smith signs back with the Hawks. Manu Ginobili to Portland. That's interesting. The Blazers have a pretty good team, obviously led by LaMarcus Aldridge and company. They were the 2 seed last year. And so that'll bring us into the 4th season of the day, 2013-2014. This, in real life, was LeBron's last year with the Miami Heat. As we make it here to the All-Star break, the Raptors are the number 1 seed in the East. The Anthony Davis dominance tour continues. And then the Thunder have come back down to earth a little bit. They are only 48-9, 7 games ahead of the Clippers for first place. Keep in mind, the Clippers don't have Chris Paul. He is still in New Orleans with the now Pelicans. As we take a look at the All-Star teams, 2nd-year pro Anthony Davis is there. Raymond Felton is there. That's the first, I would say, really surprising All-Star as we make it now to the end of the year. As we take a look at Russell Westbrook winning MVP number 2. Giannis wins the Rookie of the Year. There's Draymond with the Lakers with an impressive 33% from the field. Oh my God, those shooting splits are awful. How did he win any kind of award? The Thunder end up winning 71 games. Not as good as they were last year, but still very, very good. I still don't see how anyone's going to beat them. As we take a look at the standings, the Raptors get the number 1 seed in the East, and then the Cavs do not make the playoffs again. What's going on here, LeBron? You're 29 years old. You've done nothing so far today. As for the Western Conference, the biggest surprise, I would say, is the Dallas Mavericks with Dirk, Dwight, and Damian Lillard. They don't even make the playoffs. They get the 10th seed. The Spurs in dead last as they kickstart their rebuild. Ironic because they won the finals this year in real life. No major surprises in the first round. Into the conference finals now, the Raptors will play the Pacers while the Thunder go up against DeMarcus Cousins and the Sacramento Kings. Look at them making the playoffs. And ultimately, we will get a rematch. The Thunder and Pacers back in the finals. OKC is still ridiculously loaded. The Pacers are fun, but they have Raul Neto as their starting point guard. I don't think you're going to win the finals. If Raul Neto is your starting point guard, OKC gets to sweep. They win title number 2. That'll bring us into the 2014 offseason with Tim Duncan retiring as a Laker. The Lakers gave up a top 3 pick for 1 year of Tim Duncan just to not make the playoffs. Wild stuff. This is the Andrew Liggins draft lottery, but don't forget Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic are both in the draft as the Rockets get the number 1 pick. Do they go with Wiggins or do they go with either of the future MVPs? And sure enough, they go with Nikola Jokic teaming up with Carmelo Anthony. The San Antonio Spurs get Joel Embiid to help their rebuild, and then the Wizards get Andrew Wiggins. The Pistons are going to trade the 4th pick and Isaiah Thomas for Danilo Gallinari. So the Pistons have traded a top 5 pick and a future MVP candidate for Danilo Gallinari. God, why the Pistons? Zach LaVine goes to the Knicks, Aaron Gordon to the Suns. No real complaints at the top. I would say the guys who belong high up here are high up here. Julius Randle to the Celtics. Kem Birch in the lottery. Okay. Marcus Smart goes to the Nuggets. And that'll bring us into the 2014 free agency. This is the year that LeBron left for Cleveland. He actually still has a little bit longer left to go on his contract, but there are still some good players here. Kobe, Dirk, Powell, Mike Conley. Some pretty big names in this free agency class. And for the most part, a lot of the big stars ended up standing pat. Kobe will go back to the Lakers. Dirk back to the Mavs. The biggest mover is Mike Conley signing with the Trailblazers. Portland continues to add talent. And they look like a real sleeper atop the Western Conference. They just haven't really had much playoff success. So now we are in 2014-2015 as we make it to the All-Star break. The Raptors back in first place. The Bulls appear to be falling off a little bit. They dropped to 4. OKC is really good, but look out for the Minnesota Timberwolves with Love, Kyrie, and Beal. And then the Warriors continue to play well, although they have had a lot of playoff struggles. This, in real life, was the year that Golden State won their first title with Steph Curry. Rodney Stuckey is an all-star. Jeremy Lin is an all-star, along with second-year Giannis. And then here's a look at the West, which includes Dante Green. Never heard of this guy. Apparently, he's a real player. And he has developed into a stud with a pretty solid Utah Jazz team as the number 1 option. Him and Gordon Hayward are a solid little duo. So we will simulate to the end of the year. Russell Westbrook wins his 3rd consecutive MVP. I've got to assume the Thunder are the title favorites again. Jokic is the Rookie of the Year in Houston. And the Thunder finished the year with a record of 63-19. Kind of disappointing for their standards. And so that'll bring us into the postseason as we take a look at the seedings. The Raptors do get the number 1 seed in the East. The Bulls end up in 3rd. And the defending back-to-back Eastern Conference champion Pacers only in 8th. As for the West, OKC, the 1 seed, Dallas sneaks in at 7. Still can't help but feel disappointed by that Mavericks team as we simulate here through the first round. And we have mostly chalk, although the Spurs, who jumped up to the 3 seed, magically lose to the Kings. We've got the Raptors and the Bulls, the Thunder and the T-Wolves in the conference finals, so mostly chalk. And then the Raptors will face off against OKC. The Thunder are looking for title number 3 against the young star Anthony Davis. I don't think that Raptors team is going to be enough as good as AD is. And the Thunder get the sweep. 3 consecutive championships for OKC. They are now officially a dynasty. Kevin Garnett leads the list of retirements as we take a look at the 2015 offseason with KG obviously making the Hall of Fame. The Charlotte Bobcats are now the Charlotte Hornets. And so that'll bring us to the 2015 NBA Draft Lottery, where we've got Cat, Booker, Porzingis, guys like that in this class, with the Brooklyn Nets getting the number 1 pick, followed by the Suns and the Lakers. There isn't really any clear top choice this year. I would say probably Devin Booker is the best player out of this class, but the Nets could go a couple different directions. And sure enough, they would end up selecting Karl-Anthony Towns. Can't really blame them here. The Suns get a chance to pick Book, and instead they pick Miles Turner. Okay, you do you. The Lakers pick Justice Winslow. What the hell? The Sixers get Kristaps. The Knicks get Trey Lyles. And Devin Booker would finally go with the next pick. He ends up in Denver with a solid Nuggets team. That'll bring us into the 2015 offseason now. Derrick Rose is a free agent this year. LeBron James is as well. Both players declined their player options along with Russell Westbrook. So we really could see a balance of power shift in the NBA. Could the Thunder and or Bulls fall apart? Could LeBron end up on a new team? Let's see what ends up happening. And sure enough, we would have some movement. LeBron re-signs with the Cavs. I don't know why. But the other two big fish end up switching teams. Derrick Rose signs with the Nets, while Russell Westbrook signs with the Boston Celtics. The Nets just got the number 1 pick. They've got some intriguing young players, including Karl-Anthony Towns. This team does feel a little bit away from competing. And then the Celtics, I don't really get the decision here from Russ. They have old Paul Pierce. They have Chris Middleton, Julius Randle. Like, cool, I guess. This does make the Thunder a lot worse, though, losing their 3-time MVP. Could we see a new champion finally, as we're now in the 2015-16 season? Let's see how much the standings have changed with some of the best players in our league switching teams. So the Brooklyn Nets are the number 1 seed. Derrick Rose is here. LeBron and the Cavs are in 2nd, and Russell Westbrook and the Celtics are in 3rd. All these teams are really good, while Minnesota is now atop the West with the Thunder in 7th place. Boy, are they missing Russell Westbrook. You could be worse. He could be the Bulls, who are in 14th place in the Eastern Conference. As we simulate to the end of the season, Stephen Curry ends up winning the MVP with the Warriors 1 year later than he won his first MVP in real life. Better late than never, I suppose. So Curry wins the award there. Kristaps Porzingis ends up winning the Rookie of the Year with the 76ers. We're probably going to have a new Coach of the Year finally, and ends up going to Cameron Marshall of the Minnesota Timberwolves, who won 59 games. Are the Timberwolves the team to beat in the Western Conference with a young nucleus of Kyrie, Beal, and then Kevin Love? So the Nets do end up finishing as the 1 seed. The Pistons climb up to 3 somehow. I don't know how that happened. They have not really been relevant throughout the entire video, but okay. Right now, there seems to be so much parity in the NBA. The top 7 teams out east all finished within 6 games of each other. The West was a lot closer in the middle, although Minnesota, Portland, and Golden State seem like the clear top 3. I'm expecting some fireworks, especially out east. And, oh yeah, we got some fireworks. The 8-seeded Thunder beat Minnesota in the first round. OKC, the Wicked Witch, is not quite dead yet. Cleveland and Miami both underseeded win. OKC, the Wicked Witch, is now dead. They lose to the Suns, who will face off against the Blazers in the conference finals, while Derrick Rose and the Nets face off against Miami. Clearly, a balance of power shift has occurred here in the NBA as we get a Blazers and Heat final. The Heat don't have LeBron, but they've got D. Wade, they've got Chris Bosh, and they've got Rodney Stuckey. The Blazers are led by Al Horford now. They still have Mike Conley as well. Kind of a weird team, but I mess with it. Now, they do end up getting swept by the Heat, so Dwayne Wade and Miami end up winning a 2nd championship as we look at the retirements. Chauncey Billups, not a Hall of Famer. Boo. Tracy McGrady and Paul Pierce are, though, as we go into the 2016 offseason. This is the draft with guys like Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram, Jaylen Brown, Jamal Murray, and the Kings get the number 1 pick. The top 3 picks were all acquired via trade. If you're a bad team, kids, don't trade your draft picks. That'll bring us to the 2016 draft. Who goes number 1 to the Kings? Well, they ain't going to the Kings. This pick is on the move to the Bulls for Amari Stoudemire and the Wall Deng. The Kings are trying to win with Boogie, while the Bulls are going all in on this rebuild with Derrick Rose gone, and Chicago selects Ben Simmons. The Rockets get Jamal Murray, pairing him with Jokic and Carmelo Anthony. DeJounte Murray goes to the Suns. Brandon Ingram teams up with Book out west in Denver with the Nuggets. Jaylen Brown to the Sixers. Domantas Sabonis to the New Orleans Pelicans. And Pascal Siakam goes to the Bucks. That'll bring us into the 2016 offseason. This is the year that the cap inflated, and we had a lot of big new contracts. Loaded free agency class to start as well. Durant, Howard, Paul, Curry, Kevin Love. A lot of big names here, and we had some interesting results. We'll start with Kevin Durant, who signs with the Boston Celtics. And this is funny because the Celtics just signed Russell Westbrook. In real life, Kevin Durant ditched Russ. Russ gets mad. Here, Russ ditches KD, and then KD joins him. So KD's hopping around super teams, I guess. Dwight is a Clipper, but don't worry, Mavericks fans, you get Steph Curry. Don't worry, Warriors fans, you get Chris Paul. DeMar DeRozan ends up with Detroit, and then Dame, who's only an 80, signs with the Sixers. Well, that was an interesting offseason. I guess the Boston Celtics with KD and Russ are now clearly the team to watch out east. We'll see what those guys end up doing reunited together. The Miami Heat, who just won the title, are really bad, so that's already a start. The Raptors are the 1 seed. Boston is in 6th. They have been very mediocre this season. The Cavs are in 3rd with LeBron. That's something. Could this be the year that Cleveland finally, does something? Boston's only 5 back of the number 1 spot, though, and then out west, the Kings have gone all in with DeMarcus Cousins, and it has paid off. They have got themselves a really balanced roster from head to toe. Minnesota in 2nd, the Suns in 3rd. The Thunder with James Harden have fallen to 8th. Poor guy, he has to carry that team on his back. So Anthony Davis ends up winning the MVP with the Toronto Raptors here in 2017. What a year for AD. He has completely turned around that franchise. Ben Simmons wins the Rookie of the Year. Dennis Schroeder's been a mainstay as the 6th Man of the Year. D'Lo's really developing well in Orlando. As we look at the All-NBA teams, which includes Brian Paxson. Who the hell are you? I don't think this guy's a real person. But, again, what can you do? So Cleveland gets the number 1 seed out east. It was a 4-way tie for number 1 with the top 6 teams all within 1 game of each other. So we are definitely getting chaos out east. Oh my goodness. What has happened to the Eastern Conference? Good Lord. The Bulls end up finishing in last. Minnesota gets the 1 spot in the West. The Mavericks with Curry and Dirk don't make the playoffs, and neither do the Thunder. As we simulate through the first round, both 2 seeds lose. The Kings, who are the number 1 seed of the All-Star break, fall to the Rockets. The Raptors with MVP Anthony Davis, and the Bucks lose to Derrick Rose and then the Detroit Pistons. Derrick Rose keeps it going. He leads Brooklyn to the conference finals against Cleveland, while the Rockets with Jokic, Melo, Jamal Murray, Kyle Lowry is the 7th seed. How is that team the 7th seed? Make the conference finals. So we've got 2 7 seeds here, and ultimately one of them, Brooklyn, is going to the finals against Minnesota. This really good young team with Kyrie, Beal, Kevin Love. They also have Marc Gasol and Rudy Gay and O.J. Mayo. The Nets are the heavy underdogs here, but we've seen Derrick Rose win a title before. The Timberwolves look too good, though. Brooklyn's making it competitive. It looks like we're going 7. The Timberwolves led 3-1, and they are in danger of blowing it. I don't think it's going to happen, though. Minnesota gets the job done. Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving win a championship without LeBron, which is hilarious. Kyrie wins the Finals MVP. Kobe Bryant retires here after 2017, a year later than he did in real life. Unlike real life, he did not get worse at all. Kobe could have kept going if he wanted to, over 40,000 points. Wow, what a career for Kobe Bean Bryant. He spent all of his career with the Lakers, as that'll bring us to the 2017 draft lottery. This is the draft with Tatum, Spida Mitchell, De'Aaron Fox, Bam Adebayo. The Pelicans end up with 1 and 2 from the Bulls. That's one way to kick off your rebuild. They've got some young talent, Rudy Gobert, Domantas Sabonis. So they can get 2 of, I would assume, Jason Tatum, Spida Mitchell, and De'Aaron Fox. That would make the most sense, right? Add some guards. So Donovan Mitchell does go number 1, but then they surprise it too, picking John Collins. All right, you do you. The Miami Heat, 1 year after winning the title, walk into Jason Tatum, Lonzo to the Grizzlies, and then the Nuggets trade this pick for Kemba Walker. Wow, big deal. The Suns swoop in and get De'Aaron Fox. Dennis Smith to the Magic, Markelle Fultz to the Hornets, OG Anunoby to OKC, Lauri Markkanen to the Jazz earlier than real life, Bam to the Sixers. They now have Bam, Lillard, Porzingis, and Jaylen Brown. Quite the young core in Philadelphia. That'll bring us into the 2017 free agency with Boogie Cousins, James Harden, Paul George, John Wall, and Blake Griffin at the top of the list, along with Dirk Nowitzki. Mostly, we had guys return to their teams. Of this group, James Harden and John Wall switch. The OKC trio is officially dead. Harden joins up with, ironically, Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris with the Spurs. The irony and the jokes write themselves. John Wall, meanwhile, the new face of the Lakers with Kobe Bryant gone. We'll simulate up to the All-Star break. Instantly, I noticed the Heat are bad. Like, really bad. like really, really bad. They scored 2 points in a quarter in this 122-58 loss against the Nuggets. Look at the shooting splits. My God. They still have Dwayne Wade. They still have Chris Bosh. They have rookie Tatum. So the Raptors are the number 1 seed in the East. The Hornets are finally really good with Giannis and Jimmy Butler. The Cavs with LeBron are in 10th, while the Celtics with KD and Russ are in 12th. As for the West, the Nuggets are in first place, Minnesota, and the Spurs not too far behind. The Mavericks continue to be oddly mediocre. The Kings are out of the playoffs, and the Thunder, without their core, are in 14th. Ouch. Let's simulate to the end of the year now as Anthony Davis wins MVP number 2. Mel Murphy, who are you? He wins the Rookie of the Year. Joseph Augustine, who are you? He wins Most Improved and makes All-NBA second team. Okay. D'Angelo Russell making All-NBA third team might be even weirder. So let's take a look at the final standings. The Raptors do end up number 1. The Pacers and Hornets not too far behind. Boston and Cleveland both miss out, despite the fact that they have some really good players. Minnesota grabs number 1 in the West. The Nuggets fall to 3. The Kings and the Mavericks do swoop in to get playoff spots. As we simulate through the first round, the only upset is Orlando defeating Charlotte. The Magic are led by a young D'Angelo Russell. Going forward now, we've got the Magic winning again. They'll play against Toronto, while Minnesota faces off against Denver. Minnesota and Toronto, the 2 number 1 seeds, meet up in the finals. The Timberwolves looking for their second consecutive title. They've got Anthony Davis and the Raptors in their way. The Raptors roster, other than Anthony Davis and DeAndre Jordan, though, is pretty bad. The rest of their starters are Jordan Farmar, Kelly Oubre, and Caillou. I get that AD is the best player in the world, but I don't see how this team beats Minnesota, and they don't. Minnesota goes for the sweep. This time Bradley Beal wins the Finals MVP. That's back-to-back titles for the Timberwolves. As we look at the retirements, we've got ISO Joe. Darko's stuck around in the league for a while. No Hall of Famers. Tony Parker was in this class as well. We now have the All-Star Draft. This is the first year with that. We've gotten pretty close to the modern time as we make it to the 2018 draft lottery. This is the draft with Luka, Ayton, Jaren Jackson, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and the Grizzlies get the number 1 pick, followed by perennial losers, the Bulls and the Thunder, who have both been very relevant throughout this video, and they'll be able to add some young talent. They won't be able to add Luka. He ends up with the Memphis Grizzlies. The Bulls get DeAndre Ayton, and the Thunder get Trae Young. The Miami Heat pair Tatum up with Jaren Jackson. The Wizards get Marvin Bagley. The Warriors have a chance with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but instead they trade it for Greg Monroe. So the Celtics move up for Duncan Robinson. Okay, why? Shai goes to the Grizzlies. He will team up with Luka Doncic. That is a really fun duo. Almost as fun as trading up for Duncan Robinson. I don't even know what to say about that. That'll bring us into the 2018 free agency. LeBron is back. Is this finally where he joins a new team? I've got to assume it will be. Right now, along with Cleveland, the Wizards and the Pelicans look like the top suitors. New Orleans has an awesome young core with Gobert, Mitchell Robinson, John Collins, Domantas Sabonis. The Wizards, not so much. They have Marvin Bagley and Andrew Wiggins, and that's about it. And now they have LeBron James, so good for them, I guess. I mean, I don't know what LeBron's thinking. Derrick Rose leaves the Nets for the Trailblazers. This team has been consistently good with Al Horford. They've got Nicholas Batum. They've got Jeremy Lin. That team's going to be awesome. The Wizards, not so much. This team does not move me. Other than them, Kawhi Leonard signs with the Sixers. This young core is unreal. They've got Porzingis, Valanciunas, Lillard, Jaylen Brown. They've added Bam Adebayo as well. And now they get the missing piece, Kawhi Leonard. That team's going to win some titles. Russell Westbrook signs with the New Orleans Pelicans, getting out of Boston. Good for him. That team traded up for Duncan Robinson. They are unserious. So here we are at the 2019 All-Star break with our first All-Star draft with LeBron and Curry making the selections. No real eye-scratching All-Stars other than Mike Conley and D'Angelo Russell, both being starters, no less. Zach LaVine and Kristaps Porzingis, both first-time All-Stars this season. As we take a look at the standings, the Philadelphia 76ers are the team to watch. Once they signed Kawhi, I felt like they were the team to beat, not just now, but going forward. And then the Wizards are in second place with LeBron. The Raptors are in third. As for the West, the Blazers in Minnesota is going to be a really fun race. And then the Rockets are in third with Jamal, Melo, and Jokic. Could that team title either Portland or Minnesota at the top of the conference? Let's simulate to the end of the year now as Anthony Davis wins another MVP. If you've been counting at home, that's 3 in a row. Not too bad. That's a hat trick. Luka wins the Rookie of the Year. Schroeder wins his 20,000th Sixth Man of the Year in a row with the Detroit Pistons. The Blazers win 60 games, led by 30-year-old Derrick Rose. Ben Simmons, at 22 years old, makes the All-NBA first team. As we take a look at the final standings, the Sixers get the 1 seed, the Wizards get the 2 seed. LeBron, you've got a chance to do something here. It's really only 3 teams here in the East. The Wizards and Raptors are going to kill each other off in the second round. The Sixers are going to coast to the conference finals. And then out west, the Blazers seem like the team to beat, 6 games ahead of second place. Not many surprises. Actually, it was all chalk in the first round. The highest seeds all won. Portland and Minnesota, I'm really intrigued by that matchup. I think the winner of that one probably goes to the finals. And it's Portland. The back-to-back champion Timberwolves are dethroned. Portland will go up against Harden, Embiid, and the Spurs. While LeBron loses in 5 to Toronto, they'll go up against the Sixers, who unsurprisingly have steamrolled through the playoffs. And we've got the 2 number 1 seeds, the Blazers and the Sixers. I'm very intrigued about this matchup. The Blazers are led by Derrick Rose, who's been the best player in the league over the last decade, I think. And then you've got the Sixers, who are a little bit more well-rounded. Their roster is loaded. They don't have a Derrick Rose, though, as good as Kawhi Leonard is. I think this series could be really, really exciting, though, and that's exactly the case. We're going 7 games, baby. Let's see what happens here in Game 7 between the 76ers and the Trailblazers. It's really exciting, and we're going to hop in. The Blazers are up by 1 with around a minute and a half to go. Ian Mahinmi has the ball in Game 7 of the finals. What are we doing here? Porzingis heaves up a prayer, and it is good! Kristaps Porzingis for 3 puts the Sixers ahead. Rose inside. Daniel Tice with the layup. Yes, Daniel Tice is making game-tying shots in Game 7 of the finals. So now we're tied at 106. Porzingis is out of bounds. What a defensive stand by Al Horford. That is not a blocking foul. Back in the hands of Rose. Isolation on Lillard. And Rose puts the Blazers ahead. Derrick Rose looking for another title. He's already won 1 here. Porzingis with it, guarded by Horford. Porzingis heaves it up, and it's good again. Kristaps Porzingis has tied it up with 20 seconds to go. The ball is obviously in the hands of Derrick Rose. I don't love this matchup for the Sixers with Lillard on him. We'll see if this screen potentially sets up a switch. Porzingis now guarding Rose as it's out to Horford for the lead. He misses it. Al Horford missed an easy floater for the win. Lillard from full court, it nearly falls. And we're going to overtime. Al Horford had it 1 for the Blazers, and that miss is going to cost them the championship. The Sixers, with a great run in overtime, will get the job done. Their first of what I think could be many titles. Wow, what a Game 7. The Sixers end up winning the finals, as the finals MVP is going to be none other than Derrick Rose. Didn't they just lose? Okay. Derrick Rose just won the finals MVP despite losing. I don't know what the thought process is there, but okay. You do you, 2K. We're now in the 2019 offseason. Dirk Nowitzki retired this year in real life, so it matches up. Zebo, Darren Williams both retire as well. Dirk obviously will make the Hall of Fame, spent his entire career with the Mavericks, but he does not have a championship. That'll bring us to the 2019 lottery. This is the draft of guys like Zion, Ja, Darius Garland, and the Kings, who have had some really good teams, get the number 1 pick. So we'll see what they do. They've still got DeMarcus Cousins. Him and Zion would be such a nasty offensive front court, and that's exactly what they're going to do. I love that duo. Those guys are going to eat. Differing skill sets that can really complement each other. Ja Morant goes to the Jazz. The Nuggets get Rui Hachimura. DeAndre Hunter also to the Kings. And then the 5th pick is on the move. Rod Hickman has been traded for the 5th pick. The Thunder trade up for P.J. Washington. And the Grizzlies get Darius Garland. Remember, they have Luka and Shea. That is an unbelievable 3-headed monster at guard. Well-known woman respecter Kevin Porter Jr. goes to the Thunder. R.J. Barrett joins a great young core down in Miami. And that'll bring us into the 2019 free agency. Kevin Durant is back. Kyrie Irving is here. Maybe he leaves Minnesota. Could we see a balance of power change with the Timberwolves getting worse? Kevin Durant signs with the Mavericks. I mean, this is just funny at this point because the Mavericks have Steph Curry. It's not exactly like when KD signed with the Warriors because their third option is a dude named Corey Gomez. Kyrie signs with the Bulls. The Bulls are back, folks. They signed Klay Thompson as well, and they've already got a nice little young core with Ben Simmons, who's a stud, DeAndre Ayton. The Chicago Bulls are back and better than ever. They will be contending for the Eastern Conference here in the 2020 season. Let's simulate to the All-Star break. The Heat are god-awful, 11-44. Ugh. They've got a good young core, too, with Tatum, Jaren Jackson, and R.J. Barrett, but apparently they suck. This was supposed to be year 3, Tatum as well. The Sixers are the number 1 seed. They look like they'll be back in the Eastern Conference. The Bulls are having a strong year as well, while the Miami Heat, who have a good roster, they still have Wade and Bosh and Rodney Stuckey, are in dead last. The Blazers are in first place in the West. The Nuggets with Devin Booker and Brandon Ingram are in second. New Orleans in third. The Mavericks are in fifth with KD and Steph. As we look at the All-Star draft, D'Lo's a starter again. Monte Ellis is here. He made the All-Star team like 8 years ago, and he's back. Good for him, I guess. Anthony Davis wins another MVP. He's at like 4 or 5. I've lost count. The Blazers at 63 wins get the Coach of the Year. As we take a look at the All-NBA teams, this was the bubble playoffs, so I was kind of hoping 2K would do something special for the bubble. I guess not. The Sixers, Raptors, and Bulls are clearly the 3 teams to beat in the East. The Sixers are going to have another cakewalk to the conference finals. And then in the West, it looks like a 2-team race between Portland and the Nuggets. We'll see if any of those teams get upset. Yes. Actually, no. No, none of those teams got upset in the first round. I can't read. The Grizzlies, though, beat New Orleans. And then, kind of as expected here, Blazers, Nuggets, Sixers, Bulls. The Bulls beat Anthony Davis and the Raptors. And we'll get a rematch. The Blazers and the Sixers meet up for round 2. The only difference is that the Sixers' young guys have gotten better. I like the Sixers' chances to repeat, but again, Derrick Rose is really, really good. The Sixers start off pretty strong. The Blazers take 2. They take 3 in a row, and we're headed back to a Game 7 just like last time. And just like the previous Game 7, we've got ourselves a really exciting one. The Blazers thought they had this game ran away with, but not so fast. The Sixers can tie it with 20 seconds left. Damian Lillard, he's going to wait a little bit and then says, F it. I'm going to let this thing fly. And he makes it! Damian Lillard ties it at 109. An epic collapse from the Trailblazers. They've still got a shot to win it, though. Rose pulls it at the top of the key. No good. And the Sixers are going to get a shot to win the finals with 2 seconds left on the clock. I like this ball in Damian Lillard's hands. Bam on the inbound. Who's it going to go to? It's going to go to Jaylen Brown. And it's no good. A very makeable shot. It was probably around 15 feet away from the rim. But it's unable to fall. And just like last year, we're going into overtime. Will it be close? Unlike last year. And it looks like it will. We're going to hop in with 1:20. The Blazers up by 1. Portland lost in overtime last year in Game 7 to the Sixers. They're not going to let the same fate happen here. Rose has an open man. It's Nicholas Batum for 3. The Trailblazers are now ahead by 4 with a minute to go. Philly's got to respond quick. Lillard inside, pull-up jumper. He is not going to fall. Jared Allen with the board. Inbound for the Blazers. Derrick Rose in Portland can ice it. Open for 3 is Jeremy Lin. He won't take it. He's doubled. Horford is wide open. Makes the layup. The Blazers are in prime spot to finish this off. And that is exactly what they're going to do. Derrick Rose wins another title as the Portland Trailblazers defeat the Philadelphia 76ers, getting revenge for last year. Quite the fun little rivalry we have now seen with the Blazers and the Sixers, who have both been phenomenal over the last couple of years, making the finals in back-to-back seasons. Both times we went to Game 7. Both Game 7s go to overtime. The one constant, though, is that Derrick Rose wins the finals MVP again. So Derrick Rose has had quite the NBA career. He has multiple MVPs with the Blazers, and he has quite a few championship rings now, and quite a few finals MVPs as well. Pau Gasol, Tyson Chandler, Carlos Boozer, and Amari Stoudemire headline the list of retirements. Gasol and Stoudemire end up making the Hall of Fame. Now we are here into the 2020 offseason. The play-in tournament has been implemented as we go to the draft lottery. This is a draft with Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, Tyrese Halliburton, and the Detroit Pistons get the number 1 pick. Pistons, for the love of God, do not screw this up. There's 3 different options you can go with. If this screen says James Wiseman or Killian Hayes, I swear to God. Okay, good. LaMelo Ball is the pick number 1. No complaints there. The Hawks get Cole Anthony. All right, that's interesting. The Cavs get James Wiseman. Boston gets Deni Avdija. The Heat finally come to their senses. They pick Anthony Edwards, who joins forces with Tatum, Jaren Jackson, and Bam Adebayo. Are the Heat next up? They've drafted so well, similarly to the Sixers over the last couple of years. Tyrese Halliburton goes to the Brooklyn Nets, and that'll bring us into the 2020 offseason. Curry's back in free agency. AD can finally leave the Raptors. I kind of hope he does. The Raptors have not been able to get out of their own way. And he will. He ends up signing with the Mavericks, who do lose Stephen Curry. So Anthony Davis and Kevin Durant are now together in Dallas. I'm very curious to see how that works. Curry goes to the Knicks, like it was supposed to be. And then Dwight Howard teams up with Blake Griffin on the Clippers. So that'll bring us to the 2020-2021 season. We've got a few more seasons left to go as we have now entered the modern era. We're now in the regular NBA. The LeBron era is gone. In the LeBron era, he made it out of the second round once and did absolutely nothing for the most part. Let's simulate here to the break. The Heat are improving, which, I mean, they should. They have so much talent. The Bulls have a number 1 seed, shortly followed behind by the Sixers, and then the Pistons with LaMelo Ball find themselves in 3rd place. As for the West, the Nuggets are atop, and then the Suns are in 2nd. Portland and Minnesota not too far behind either. OKC appears to be turning it around, while the Mavericks with AD and KD are only in 8th place. We've got a few first-time All-Stars, Kat, Luka, Jaylen Brown, Trae Young, a lot of young stars. As we take a look at the final results, for the first time in a while, Anthony Davis does not win the MVP. It is Ben Simmons with the Chicago Bulls. Okay, the Bulls got themselves a squad. They've obviously got Kyrie, Clay, DeAndre Ayton. They could be contending for a title. Can the Bulls get back to dominance? They won a title earlier in the video. Who is the best team in the league? The Nuggets with Devin Booker and Brandon Ingram. I don't know. There just feels like there's something off about that Nuggets team. They're really good, but like, can those guys lead a team to a championship? I don't know. The playoffs certainly look different now with the implementation of the play-in tournament. The Bulls end up winning the East. The Sixers not too far behind. I expect one of them to represent the East in the finals. The Nuggets win the Western Conference by 7 games. The Suns in 2nd. The Blazers in Minnesota still good, but maybe not as good as they've been. So here's a look at the play-in results. The Raptors, who were originally the 7th seed, are now out. And I'm sure they miss Anthony Davis. Not that the Mavericks have been much better. No major surprises here in the first round. We'll see if the second round gives us any, as we'll have the Bulls and the Steph Curry-led Knicks, who haven't really been relevant throughout the whole video. They have Zach LaVine and Tristan Thompson. And then we've got the Nuggets and the Blazers, and we will have the Bulls and the Blazers, the Derrick Rose Bowl in the NBA Finals. The Bulls are back for the first time in around a decade with their new loaded core, and they've brought back Luol Deng, who has not played a game in the regular season, yet he is now starting for them in the finals. They'll be facing off against the Blazers, who have already won 1 title. They won theirs last season. We'll see if they can get another one. Very competitive series, but the Blazers get the job done in 6. Derrick Rose wins another title. I think he's at 3 rings and then 4 finals MVPs. Luol Deng has had enough. He is out. He retires here in the 2021 offseason. We've still got a few more seasons left to go. Again, we are going up until the present day. As we look at the 2021 draft lottery, Boston gets the number 1 pick. This draft, of course, had Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Franz Wagner, Josh Giddey, Scotty Barnes, Jalen Green. Very loaded group. I think a lot of these guys will be able to make a huge impact in the future. We'll see how much of an impact they make here within the next 3 seasons. As Mobley goes number 1 to the Celtics, the Cavs will, I would assume, gladly settle for our glorious king, Cade Parker Cunningham. The Jazz trade Gordon Hayward to Atlanta after the 3rd pick to select Josh Giddey. Scotty Barnes to Toronto. Davion Mitchell to the Warriors. All right. As we simulate forward, Franz Wagner teams up with Curry on the Knicks. That's a pretty fun duo. Alperen Şengün to the Jazz and Jalen Green to the Los Angeles Clippers. That'll bring us into free agency now. LeBron is 36 years old. He's back. Could he be joining a new team? There's a lot of teams interested in him, with the Lakers at the top of the list. Man, time really is a flat circle. There's an interesting group of teams here. I'm curious to see where he ends up. We've also got Boogie, Kawhi. Could the Sixers fall off? Jokic, George, Harden, Giannis, Kevin Love, Westbrook, Wall, a lot of big names, and pretty much everybody re-signed, except for LeBron. He is a Los Angeles Laker, and they were able to bring back John Wall as well. This is LeBron's final opportunity to win a championship, and they've got a decent team. They also have Justice Winslow, Draymond Green, Brandon Clark. It's not the worst roster, and Draymond gets to live out his own personal fantasy. The other big mover is Nikola Jokic joining a good Phoenix Suns team. DeJounte Murray just made the All-NBA first team. The Suns did have De'Aaron Fox, who won't be back, but the rest of that core looks quite solid. Fox would end up signing with the Thunder right at the end, while pretty much every other relevant player goes back to their original team. That'll bring us to the 2021-22 season. We'll see if we can get some new teams out of either conference. The Sixers and Blazers both still appear to be really good, but it's the Pistons, the number 1 seed, led by LaMelo Ball. They've also got Mikal Bridges. Miles Turner's a 90. Miles Turner is the best player on a number 1 seed. Okay. The Miami Heat, with their young core, have finally figured it out. As for the West, the Thunder are good once again with their new group led by Trae Young and company. They've also got De'Aaron Fox as well. The rest of their roster isn't all that good, but good for them, I guess. Here's the rest of the West. The Suns, who have been really good, are not even in the playoffs with the addition of Jokic. The Blazers are only the 7th seed as well. As we look at the All-Star teams, Miles Turner is an All-Star starter. So is Lonzo Ball. Zion Williamson, the only other first-time All-Star, actually along with Jason Tatum in Miami. Luka Doncic wins the MVP with the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies really have not been relevant throughout the entire video, and that probably will end up changing, being that Luka's quite good. Dennis Smith won the Most Improved with the Washington Wizards. Good for him. Lonzo Ball, All-NBA first team. Good for him as well. Here's a final look at the playoff bracket. In the Eastern Conference, the Pistons do get the number 1 seed. Miami jumps up to 2. This team's going to be really good. They feel like the new age Sixers in a way. They also still have Chris Bosh on their roster as well. The Sixers are in 3rd. The Bulls get 4th. Other than that, nothing overly notable. The Nuggets get the 1 seed in the West. The Grizzlies and Suns only get play-ins along with the Blazers. An interesting group of play-in teams. The Suns have been good. They have Jokic. The Grizzlies have the MVP. And the Blazers, who have made the finals 3 years in a row, don't even make the playoffs. They didn't even win their first play-in game. So that's interesting. Let's simulate the first round here of the playoffs. See if we get any overly interesting results. And it looks like we won't for the most part, other than the Clippers beating the Pelicans. This Clippers team is led by Blake Griffin. They've got Frank Ntilikina as their second best player. Alrighty. The Nuggets will play against OKC in the conference finals, while the Sixers will play against the Bulls. 3 teams have been really good throughout the video, and the Denver Nuggets, who make it to the finals, led by Brandon Ingram, facing off against the 76ers, who are back for a 3rd time in 4 years. I feel like the Sixers are still the team to beat. This roster is just too good. I get that the Nuggets are the number 1 seed. They had one of the best records in the league with Kemba, Booker, and Brandon Ingram. But I have a hard time thinking anybody's beating this 76ers team. But what do I know? The Nuggets are playing really well. Or are they? Denver led 3-0, and they've blown it. We're going to a Game 7. Denver could be the biggest meme in NBA history, and they will avoid it, blowing the Sixers out by 35. Brandon Ingram, the number 1 option on a championship team. Carmelo Anthony and Andre Iguodala headline the list of retirements. Melo, the only Hall of Famer in this class as we get to the 2022 offseason. Bill Russell's number 6 is now retired league-wide. This is the Paolo Banchero draft lottery, which will be won by the Golden State Warriors. Could they select Paolo number 1? They do. Keegan Murray goes 2 to the Jazz. Jaden Ivey to the Nets. The 4th pick is being traded for the 5th pick in DeMar DeRozan. Quite the move by the Pacers. The Bucks get Chet Holmgren, and the Pacers are not done. They trade the 5th pick for Lauri Markkanen. So Indiana big brains it by adding Lowry and DeRozan. And then the Jazz move up for Jabari Smith Jr. How are there still fake players in the draft class? I get like in 2011 when you don't have the rights to all the players. But in 2022, that's kind of ridiculous. So here's Derrick Rose. He could be out of Portland, potentially. Durant, Towns, Kyrie, D'Angelo Russell headline the list of unrestricted free agents. And Derrick Rose is on a new team again. He is on the Dallas Mavericks. That team is pretty good. They've got Anthony Davis. They don't have Kevin Durant anymore, but I think D. Rose and Anthony Davis have arguably been the 2 best players throughout the video. Now they're on the same team. Kevin Durant's new team is the Utah Jazz. They've got an interesting young core led by Ja Morant. Karl Anthony Towns is now with the Thunder. They were already really good, and now they add Cat. The Thunder do lose Trae Young, though, who signs with the Magic. Kyrie to the Rockets. D'Lo to the Blazers. That's a good replacement for Derrick Rose. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander signs with the Cavaliers, teaming up with Cade Cunningham. That's a really fun duo. We've got 2 more seasons to go. We are now at the 2022-23 season. This was obviously last year in real life. As we take a look at the standings, the Knicks are the number 1 seed, followed by Charlotte. Are the Hornets ever going to be relevant today? Bol is here. He's ironically good. Lonzo Ball might be their best player, even though they have Jimmy and Giannis. The Sixers, meanwhile, have fallen to 9th. Out west, it's the New Orleans Pelicans in first place. They've got this really nice young core. They've got Russell Westbrook. They're finally winning games. The defending champion Nuggets are in 2nd. Minnesota's still good in 3rd. The Mavericks with AD and Derrick Rose are in 4th. The Blazers are in 8th. As we take a look at the All-Star teams, got a few first-timers once again. Markelle Fultz, DeAndre Ayton, and Dennis Smith, who is the number 1 option on a good 3rd seed Washington Wizards team. Luka Doncic wins the MVP once again. Chet Holmgren wins the Rookie of the Year. The Pistons take home a couple of awards as well. And then Luka Doncic, I think, won the Clutch Player Award, which is new. Here are your All-NBA teams, and here is your playoff picture. We'll see who wins the most recent NBA title as the Heat climb up to number 1. And the Dennis Smith Jr.-led Wizards are in 2nd. The Knicks end up falling to 4. As for the West, the Pelicans stick in 1. Denver, Minnesota, Dallas are next. The Lakers with LeBron squeak into a playoff spot. The Suns continue to disappoint. The Thunder disappoint as well. And then the Spurs are the worst team in the league. The Blazers don't make it out of the play-in tournament once again. As for the East, the Bulls do. They were a finals team not too long ago. They've kind of, it seems like, capped at their peak, and they no longer have Kyrie. The Kings win in the first round. How is this team a 7th seed? They've got Zion, Boogie, and a pretty good lineup around them. So if the defending champion Nuggets are knocked off, I'm curious to see if the Kings can keep this up, because on paper, they're pretty good. I'm curious about this Heat and Sixers matchup as well. It ends up going to Miami. They'll play against Dennis Smith in the Eastern Conference Finals, while all hell has broken out in the West. The Kings and the Rockets will face off against each other. Again, I'm not surprised the Kings here. I am surprised about the Rockets. Pascal Siakam's a 77. He is not developed. This team is literally just Kyrie Irving. How did they get here? They're going to get stomped by the Kings, who sweep them. They'll go against the Miami Heat. Got to give credit to the Wizards, though. With Dennis Smith, Marvin Bagley, and Andrew Wiggins, they take the Heat to 7. So now we've got a really fun finals matchup, albeit Zion is hurt. The Heat are now the heavy favorites with Ant, Tatum, Jaren Jackson. With no Zion Williamson, I've got to assume that the Heat are going to win this. Chris Bosh gets an opportunity at a ring before he retires, and Boogie is having none of that. The Kings win in 5. What a surprise. No Zion Williamson, no problem. The 7th-seeded Sacramento Kings win the title. Chris Bosh retires without another ring. Wade retires with Minnesota. They'll make the Hall of Fame along with Chris Paul. That'll bring us to the final season of the day. All NBA teams are positionless. Players must play in 65 games to get awards, including All-NBA. I'm very curious to see how that affects real life. I'm curious to see if players are going to be more motivated to play. This is the Victor Wembanyama draft lottery, and fittingly, the Spurs win it. Now, I will point out the 2023 draft class did not download for whatever reason, which is kind of unfortunate. I don't think it's that big of a deal because this is literally the last season of the video. I don't think the rookies would make that big of an impact. So I guess now it is the Luke Oliver draft lottery. He goes number 1 of the Spurs. He's the clear best player in the draft, joining forces with Harden and Embiid. That'll bring us into free agency. Anthony Davis, Steph Curry, Kristaps Porzingis are all here. Miles Turner, Joel Embiid, Jaylen Brown, and here's LeBron James. Does he join a new team? He doesn't get in a ton of interest yet. Obviously, someone's going to pick him up. As we take a look at the final results, no major changes. Everybody goes back to their former teams, including LeBron, who is a Laker. So the league's landscape is pretty much the same entering this final season. However, the league's landscape is wild. We just had a 7th seed without their second best player win the title. That'll bring us to the All-Star break. The Miami Heat doing well again with their loaded young core, unsurprisingly. The Sixers, they're not dead. They're in first place. The Sixers are back. They've still got Kawhi. They've still got their entire championship core, while the Thunder with Fox and Cat lead the West. Dallas is in second with Rose and Anthony Davis. The Lakers are in 10th, and I want to talk about them specifically because LeBron is planning to retire at the end of the year, and this is kind of perfect timing because the video was originally centered around him. We haven't talked about him that much because he hasn't been relevant. I feel like this team on paper is honestly pretty good. I don't know how they're only the 10th seed, but this will be LeBron's last chance to win a ring. Here's a look at your All-Stars. Zion Williamson's a team captain. LaMelo and Fox are first-time All-Stars as we make it to the end of the year. Luka wins his third consecutive MVP. Good for him. Jaden Ivey, most improved, and then D'Lo wins the Clutch Player of the Year. Again, how does 2K measure who wins the Clutch of the Year? I'm actually really curious about that. Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball on the All-NBA first team. Again, now positionless. Shout out Joel Embiid. He actually gets to be a consistent All-NBA first team player in real life now. Here's a look at your playoff picture. The Sixers get the number 1 seed. Is Philly back looking for another title? I think the Bulls could be interesting. Miami could be interesting as well. The Suns with Jokic are finally good. They ended up getting number 1 in the West, while the Lakers with LeBron sneak into a play-in spot. This is LeBron's final opportunity, and they lose. So, no LeBron, no championship for him. He didn't even make the finals in today's video. I think he made it to the conference finals once. Let's simulate here through the first round, see if anything overly interesting happens, as we have some surprises. 2 7s win. Atlanta over Charlotte, and then the Portland Trailblazers, they're not dead. They beat Derrick Rose and Anthony Davis with the Dallas Mavericks. Into the second round now. The number 1 seeds are both gone. The Sixers lose to Miami. The 7th seed Hawks move on. They beat the Knicks. How is this Hawks team here? Their best player is Mo Bamba. Okay. As for the West, again, more pandemonium. The Grizzlies with Luka upset the number 1 seed Suns, while the Thunder are the only high seed to win. We'll get the Grizzlies and the Heat in the finals. Miami is back after getting upset last year. They'll face off against the MVP, Luka Doncic, who's got a pretty good roster around him. The Grizzlies no longer have Darius Garland or Shea, though, and it hasn't mattered. The Heat are still the better roster here. They should win it, and they do. They sweep them. Miami gets their ring. Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, Jaren Jackson, RJ Barrett. This feels like a dynasty waiting to happen as they get ring number 1. And LeBron James retires as a Laker at the age of 39 after 21 seasons. LeBron was nowhere near as good here as he was in real life. LeBron never won another MVP. He made it to the conference finals once, no finals appearances, and he retires as a 0-time NBA champion. What is his legacy? Statistically, he's the greatest player in the history of the league, and he never won anything. LeBron obviously makes the Hall of Fame, which is well-deserved, but if he never won a chip, what's the legacy here? So that's pretty much going to wrap up the video. We saw the entire landscape of the league flip on its side. We saw multiple players win MVPs multiple times. Derrick Rose has 2, Russell Westbrook has 3, Anthony Davis has 4, and then Luka has 3. We saw the Chicago Bulls really become a great team with D. Rose. The OKC dynasty, they won 78 games one year. The Minnesota dynasty, Portland going back-to-back. The Sixers somehow only won 1 championship with their loaded team. Derrick Rose winning the Finals MVP that year. And the Miami Heat, they feel like they're up next with Anthony Edwards and Jason Tatum spearheading what could be a future dynasty in South Beach. Certainly a different type of video today. This one took a little while to put together, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.